Overheiser, author of Pretty Simple Cooking Cookbook and recipe developer behind the website acouplecooks.com. I'm so excited to be here today to walk you through a cooking class of some of my very favorite Mediterranean diet recipes. Now, you've probably heard about all the benefits of a Mediterranean diet that's cooking with lots of fresh vegetables, whole grains, olive oil. I have two recipes here today to show you kind of how to put that into practice. First, we have our easy sheet pan dinner, and it's loaded with vegetables, served with quinoa and a few spritzes of lemon juice. It is so good. It's actually a fan favorite on our website. We've heard lots of people make it and love it on the daily. And then I will also share with you our healthy oatmeal bars, a treat that's made using whole grain oats. It's so delicious, peanut butter, honey, and oats. So I will show you that at the end. Let's get started with the easy sheet pan dinner. So we have a whole mix of vegetables right here. You can really use anything that you have on hand. What I love to do is to kind of pair some vegetables like broccoli and bell peppers, which are loaded with vitamin C, with some heartier vegetables like sweet potatoes, red potatoes, and onion to get a lot of flavor going on. And then the cool thing about this easy sheet pan dinner is that it's very easy to do sheet pan dinner with meat or with seafood, but it is hard to do it with vegetables because it's hard to get that plant-based protein in. So what we've done in this recipe is we've added chickpeas. And now I have heard from people who don't love chickpeas that they actually love it in this recipe because your chickpeas are gonna go right onto that sheet pan with all the vegetables. They get a little bit crunchy. The texture is a lot more palatable for people who hate chickpeas. So if you don't like chickpeas, this is a reason to try it out. It's great to add legumes like chickpeas to your plant-based or plant-forward meals to make sure that you have lots of plant-based protein and that they're filling enough. And we're also going to pair this with quinoa, so a whole grain similar to rice, but it's actually a seed, and it will also add that really filling protein component to this meal so that you won't be hungry an hour later. So what you're going to do is you'll chop up all your vegetables. Now I assume you know how to chop your veggies, but I'm going to show you a quick tip on a bell pepper that makes it quick and easy. So all you're going to do is just kind of cut off the sides of your pepper. You don't have to worry about the seeds when you do this cutting technique because they will all stay right inside your pepper. You can throw that out and then just get started dicing. It is quick and easy. So that is just a little tip on bell peppers. And like I said, they have a ton of vitamin C in them. So I try to use them as much as I can in recipes. Now, I'll just assume that you know how to cut your broccoli into florets and dice your sweet potato. And I will show you what it looks like. I cut up all my vegetables here in advance. And the way that we're going to prepare them for the oven, one tip about vegetables is you just really want to season your vegetables well. So you need to make them taste amazing, and that means adding some flavoring. So we're going to cook with olive oil. It's our favorite heart-healthy cooking oil to use. We use it all the time in recipes. And then I'm going to season it with a few magic ingredients. One of them is Old Bay. So Old Bay, you might have be used to seeing this on seafood. It's actually fantastic on your vegetables as well. So if you don't have this, you can pick it up at a store. We also have a homemade seasoning recipe, and I will provide links to all of these recipes so you don't have to worry about where to find them. And then garlic powder is another great one for vegetables. It really makes anything taste amazing. And then oregano, or you can also use Italian seasoning. So throw that all together in a bowl with your vegetables. And then the last thing you will need is kosher salt. One of our tips for cooking is to make sure that you're using kosher salt because it has these very thick grains of salt that salt your food more gently than a table salt would. So always use kosher salt. You can pick up one of these little salt cellars for easy sprinkling. And then throw that all in your bowl, and you can get a sheet pan. We like to put parchment paper on our sheet pan because it makes for easy cleanup. If you don't have it, that's okay. Dump those veggies right on top. You see all those delicious chickpeas. And then get them in a nice even layer. You don't want them to be too crowded. And the cool thing about this recipe is it makes 2 big sheet pans. So you're gonna have a ton of vegetables for this one. Speaking of, I have a pan in the oven. So I'm gonna grab that for you to show you what it looks like. All right. So we have our sheet pan of delicious vegetables that are just crispy, perfectly seasoned, and I will show you how we'll plate this as a meal. One thing you want to do when they come out of the oven is to get some lemon wedges. So just spritz it with a little bit of lemon juice. This is really, really going to amp the flavors. You're going to get a tangy brightness on the end. And then I mentioned that we are serving this with quinoa. So I whipped up a pan of that before I came to you here. We put that in, so it's 1 cup of quinoa and 2 cups of water. So just double the quinoa. Make sure to rinse your quinoa first and then simmer it for about 15 minutes. And the last magic step on quinoa is make sure to let it sit for 5 minutes. This helps it to steam and kind of fluff up and get delicious. So here's our quinoa. Already had this going. And show you the pan. And then we'll put that into your bowl here. And one tip for whole grains is that we like to make a lot. So make a big pot and then you'll have leftovers for the rest of the week. I lost my spatula. All right, and then you will just load on your vegetables in this delicious meal, and you can serve it with a sauce if you'd like. You can serve it with pesto. Sometimes we put just a little dollop of sour cream on it. Whatever you feel like would accompany this recipe. So here it is, the easy sheet pan meal, and it is a bowl full of delicious vegetables. Now I will come to you next with oatmeal bar recipe, so hold on for that. Sounds like we have a question in the audience. Please let me know, what is your question?
Does the quinoa cook while the veggies are in the oven?
Does the quinoa cook while the veggies are in the oven? Yes, it does. So make sure once you throw your vegetables into the oven that you put your quinoa on. You can also cook it in advance, and quinoa is really great. It does great in the fridge, so you can just heat it right up before you eat your meal, or your veggies take about 30 minutes to roast, so you can easily whip up that pan of quinoa while they're roasting. Another question.
What's your user feedback on people who are a little bit picky in their family? Like maybe you have one person that loves vegetables and other people that aren't too sure about a pan of quinoa and roasted vegetables.
Okay, so you can use any type of vegetables that you like. You can customize it to your own taste. You can even add a little bit of cooked chicken or some sauteed shrimp, whatever you want. The bowl meal is super customizable. We also have some great sauces. I'll leave links to some different sauces like a tahini sauce or a ranch sauce. You can use whatever you want to make this fit your taste. All right, so thanks for that Q&A. Now we will go over to our oatmeal bars recipe. So let me break this down real quick, and I will get the ingredients for our oatmeal bars. So these oatmeal bars are the perfect treat because they are made with whole grain oats, and I have a bowl here with just the oats and some cinnamon and some kosher salt. And I love this treat because you can put it in your fridge, and then you can just snack on it whenever you're in the need for a sweet treat, and it's just naturally sweetened with honey, you've got some peanut butter, and you've got oats. And if you have nut allergy in your family or yourself, you have a nut allergy, you can use sunflower butter, you can use any other type of nut butter, almond butter. Just make sure that it's really creamy. Some brands won't be as creamy as others, so just make sure it's a super creamy brand of nut butter or sunflower butter. And if it's not creamy enough, you can add a little bit more honey if you need to get it to stick together. So all you need to do for this recipe is to put your peanut butter in with your oats and your honey. So I've already measured everything out. You need 4 cups of oats, 1 cup of peanut butter, and 1 cup of honey. And a little tip for honey, if you want to get it out of your measuring cup easily. Oh, a half cup of honey, sorry about that. Half cup. If you want to get it out of your measuring cup easily, just coat it with a little bit of oil, any type of oil, and your honey will slide right out. So right now I'm just mixing up this batter. You can see how sticky it gets here. Mix this right up, and once we do this, we'll just press it into a pan, and then you can freeze it for just about 10 minutes. And what that does is it solidifies the texture right away. It's a little bit gooey, but you can freeze it up, and then you're able to cut it into pieces. And what I like to do with this recipe is to cut it into very small bars. So one of our tips for making sweet treats is that if you cut smaller pieces, you can have more. And it satisfies you more if you have a small serving size. So you can make this into 20 different bars, or I like to cut them into very small bars, which will make 40. So I will go ahead and dump this right into my prepared pan. I have a little parchment paper here in the pan that makes it easy to lift out. And I'll go ahead and just dump these bars in. And you can do mix-ins for these bars if you like. It does affect the texture a little bit, so you're going to want to have very small mix-ins if you do that. But what we like to do is just add a tiny drizzle of chocolate to the top if we want to get fancy. But otherwise, they really don't need anything. They taste even better than they sound. So you're going to want to press it right in with your spatula. And then the tip I use after that is you'll roll it over with a small glass. So here's a little glass. And you'll just roll it to help your bar get flat. And once you do that, you pop them into the freezer, which will make them easier to cut. And then you just cut them into squares. Are there any questions on this recipe from the audience? No? All right. So let's show this final product here. You can imagine what they would look like when they're cut. And they are a delicious sweet treat. Again, like I said, you can drizzle the top with a little bit of chocolate if you like, or you can just eat them as is. So thank you so much for tuning in today. The recipes for all of these delicious, tasty treats I will provide. They're available at acouplecooks.com, our easy sheet pan dinner, and our oatmeal bars. So thank you again for joining me. Bye.